In order to add polynomials like this, you could always stack them. And we'll just put the first thing up top, second thing in the bottom. And then you're just going to combine like terms. Now 3x squared plus, if there's nothing in front, it's just a 1. So just adding 3 plus 1, 4x squared there. And then in the middle, we'll do 4 minus 2, so plus 2xy. And then the last one, negative 5 plus 12. Same thing as 12 minus 5, so plus 7. And that guy, same thing as C, so we're done there. If you're subtracting polynomials, it's actually a very similar process. When there's a minus sign in the middle, you're just going to flip all the signs of the things on the right there. So we'll make that a plus, minus, and a plus, and then we'll go ahead and stack them. You're just going to keep the first thing the same there. Okay, so stacking those, notice we flipped all these signs underneath here. Then we're just going to combine like terms. So 6 and 3, 9x squared. The two middle ones, those will combine to negative 7x. And then 1 and 4, so plus 5. So final answer is B there. So once you flip these signs, you really just turn it into an addition problem. When you have the word quotient, you're always going to divide. We're just going to take each of these things and divide them by 6x squared. So the first one, if we divide these, that's going to become 3x to the fourth, because we'll do 18 divided by 6, 3. But when you have exponents and they're stacked, you could always do the top minus the bottom. So that's where the x to the fourth came from. Okay, and then keep going, so plus. But when you have the same thing divided by the same thing, those ones just cancel. So then 42 divided by 6, so 7 there. And that's it. So dividing polynomials, not too bad. When you have back-to-back parentheses, it's always multiplication. So we'll do our 4 times 3, 12. But when you multiply a cubed times a squared, you're really just going to add the powers here. So a to the fifth. And then count up how many b's. We've got b squared times b, so 3 of those guys. And just one c hanging out at the end. So that's our final, so b there. But why did that work? Well, when you have a to the third times a squared, it's really 3a's times 2a's. So you really did have 5a's there. So that's why adding the powers ends up working in that case. This is another multiplication one. We're just going to go ahead and distribute, multiply this times this to start. So 4 times 2, 8. And 1r here, 2r's there, total of 3. And then 1s times 1s, so s squared there. Okay, plus, and then we're going to distribute, multiply this thing times this. So 4 times 3, 12. And then 1r times 1r, so r squared. And we've got that s, so we'll put that in the mix. But that's it. Once again, not too bad once you know the steps. In order to simplify a fraction, we usually have to factor. And in this case, what could we pull out of the top? Well, both of these are divisible by 2, so you could pull that out front. And that works because if you do 2 times x, we get 2x, and 2 times 5, we get back to 10. However, we now have the same thing divided by the same thing, and those are always going to cancel. So surprisingly, we're just left with 2, so that is our final answer here. The reason that works is if you plug in the same x here and here, it's always going to simplify the whole thing to become 2. Okay, let's do another one. What could we pull out of both terms up top? Well, they're both divisible by 5, so we'll pull that out. And then in the bottom, this one and this one have an x, so we'll pull that out. But let's check it. So we got 5 times x, 5x, and then 5 times 8, 40, so the top's good. And then x times x, x squared, and x times 8, 8x. But once again, we've got the same thing divided by the same thing, so those two cancel. So we're just left with 5 over x, final answer there. And one last one. This one's from the GED Math Study Guide. When you're adding fractions, you could always start with the thing on the bottom right. That's what you're going to multiply top and bottom on the left side there. And then same idea, take what's on the bottom left, multiply it top and bottom on the right side. The reason we do that is because now they have the same thing in the bottom, x plus 2 times x plus 2 times x. So then we can combine them into one fraction. Now let's go ahead and simplify the first thing here. We'll do 3 times x, 3x, and then 3 times 2, so plus 6. And just keep the bottom thing. And then plus, then we're going to get x times x squared up top, x plus 2 times x in the bottom. And finally, if we combine all of that, it's going to be the same thing as d here. Because up top we have an x squared right there, 3x in the middle, 6 at the end. And then we can put them under one denominator, so just like that. Here's a video on FOIL and factoring if you want some more work with polynomials. Let me know what questions you run into. We'll see you in the next video. Toodles.